Hello everyone and welcome to Dutch Greybeard. Recently I was at my girlfriend's house quietly reading in The Darkest Road by Guy Gavriel Kay. This is the third and final book in the Fiona Farr tapestry. I love Kay's first trilogy, although I prefer Tegana, the only other book by this author I have read so far. I read The Summer Tree, book 1 in this series from 29th of June till the 9th of July. Over here you can see my separate video on this book. The Wandering Fire, book number 2, I read from July 28 till the 2nd of August, and I started reading The Darkest Road on August 4, but I got sidetracked by The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. A very pleasant way of getting sidetracked, by the way. But at this moment I am back in Fiona Farr, and I will finish reading the final book these coming days. Anyway, as I was reading, I entered a scene at page 131, which lasted until page 136. This scene in these mere 5 pages completely floored me. I had to put the book down and reflect upon what I had just read, and I felt the strong need to share this unprecedented experience. When I tried to tell my girlfriend what I had just read, quoting some lines, my eyes teared up and I could hardly speak anymore. Now, for someone who has been reading books for more than 50 years, it is perhaps a bit rash to say that these 5 pages are the most memorable I've ever read. Memorable as in beautiful, profound, emotional, etc. Still, at this point, I really believe this to be the case. Wherever this piece of prose may rank in everything I've read is irrelevant in the end. I'm sure, though, that I will think back on this very often, and it will become my go-to example of perfect writing. No doubt it is a fool's errand to try and convey how deep these pages touched me, how with each reread of the words I delved deeper into the sheer beauty and meaningfulness of what the author achieves here. But I'm going to give it a try anyway. Let me first try and set the stage for you a little bit. In laying out the build-up to these pages, I cannot avoid spoilers. There won't be major spoilers, nothing of the plot or any of its conclusions will be revealed. Nevertheless, for those of you who are planning to read this trilogy and don't want to know even the slightest spoilery snippet, now would be a good point to stop watching this video. If you don't mind minor reveals that have no bearing on the plot, please enjoy what follows. The story is about these 5 students from Toronto University who somehow get caught up in this epic adventure in another world, Fiona Farr. One of them, Jennifer Lowell, is being abducted by servants of the Dark Lord Rakoth. At the end of the first book, she experiences unimaginable horrors, which she miraculously survives. In book 2, the so-called warrior is summoned from the dead to help in the war against Rakoth. He is Arthur Pendragon, and when he and Jennifer meet, she suddenly realizes who she really is. She is Guinevere, beloved of Arthur and of Lancelot. The seer who had awakened Arthur could do so because she knew his secret name, Child Slayer, which refers to a terrible sin Arthur had committed in his youth. A few words on the philosophy of Fiona Farr. Life and its tribulations are created by the weaver on his loom, which strongly reminds me of how life and reincarnation are represented in the Wheel of Time. Lives are lived over and over again, and there are neither beginnings nor endings to the weavings of the tapestry. There is much literature about the dramatic and impossible love triangle between Guinevere, Arthur, and Lancelot in medieval times. The love between these 3 for each other is endless, as is their envy and sorrow. But here, in Fiona Farr, it looks as though both Arthur and Guinevere don't have to worry, because Lancelot is not present. He has not been awoken. This Jennifer speaks out loud several times, but each time she does that, we feel doubt in between the lines. Rightly so, because each time she lives her life, some elements cannot be avoided. This will never end until she somehow can resolve that part of her life. In the second book, a party, with Arthur among them, sails out in the ship Prydwen to fight one of the minions of the Dark Lord. It is hardly surprising that they find Lancelot, who is also aroused from his death sleep. He joins the crew when they return after their nautical quest. A strange and powerful storm takes the ship off its course. Together with a few others, Jennifer stays in Lyson's Tower, a very special place with an important history in Pendarrenwood, a magical forest. To be able to communicate with the humans, the power of Pendarrenwood has taken human form. In that form, he assumes the name of Flydays or Flydays. Don't know how you pronounce that. Let's name him Flydays. This, in very short, is the setting when I entered page 131. It stretches too far to quote the entire 5 pages, even though they are one big highlight in themselves. I will limit myself to the highlights of this highlight. Jennifer witnesses how the Prydwen, caught in an unnatural storm, crashes on the rocky shore. Its crew barely manages to survive thanks to the sudden ceasing of the storm. A miracle. There might be time enough later to search for the source of it and give thanks. But not yet. Not now, in this tangled, sorrow-strewn unfolding of a long destiny. A man steps onto the shore who had not been on Prydwen when she sailed. In his arms he holds the unconscious body of Arthur Pendragon, and all 5 people on the beach, waiting, knew who this man was. Jennifer moved forward through the gentle rain to stand before the 2 men she had loved and been loved by through so many lives in so many worlds. This is the powerful build-up to the meeting between Lancelot and Guinevere. A meeting that unfolds in the most memorable pages of prose I have ever read. There is a sacred reverence in these lines. They also carry the weight of an immensely huge background of so many lives, of so much pain and sorrow. Thanks to the quietness that surrounds the few words that are spoken between these ancient lovers, the withheld drama and lament is all the more tangible and heartbreaking. At the beginning, the reader is reminded of Jennifer's hope for a life without this doomed fate, and we feel how this hope vanishes in one heartbeat. While she stands before this one man who is holding another man in his arms, Guinevere was remembering a moment on the balcony of the tower earlier that afternoon, when Flydays had spoken of randomness as the variable the weaver had woven into his tapestry for a limitation on himself. She was remembering, as if from a place infinitely far away, the explosion of hope in her mind, that this time might be different because of that, because Lancelot was not here. No third angle of the triangle. What was here, in its stead, was Lancelot du Lac, whose soul was the other half of her own, whose eyes were as dark as they had been every single time before, as undemanding, as understanding, with the same pain buried in their depths that only she could comprehend, only she assuage, whose hands, whose long, graceful fighter's hands were exactly as they had been the last time, and the time before, every hurting time before, when she had loved them, and loved him as the mirror of herself, whose hands cradled now, gently, with infinite, unmistakable tenderness, the body of his liege lord, her husband, whom she loved in the teeth of all the lies, all the crabbed, envious incomprehension, with a full and shattering passion that had survived and would tear her asunder every time she woke again to who she had been and was fated to be. To the memory and the knowledge of betrayal like a stone at the centre of everything, the grief at the heart of a dream, the reason why she was here, and Lancelot. The price, the curse, the punishment laid by the weaver on the warrior in the name of the children who had died. If this already is poetic, the author delves even deeper in what's to come. She and Lancelot faced each other in silence on the strand, in a space that seemed to the watchers to have somehow been cut out from the ebb and flow of time, an island in the tapestry. In that silence, 2 pages of memories of their days in Camelot are relived, love and betrayal. Jennifer thinks back on her ordeal with Rakoth and realizes in this moment that he has failed in his attempt to permanently break her. She held herself straight as she could, quite still. She had a sense that to move, just then, would be to break, and she could not break. "He is all right," Lancelot said. "What is a voice?" she thought. "What is a voice that it can do this to us? Firelight, a mirror made whole, a dream shown broken in that mirror. The texture of a soul in 4 words. 4 words, not about her or himself, not of greeting or desire. 4 quiet words about the man he carried, and so about the man he was himself. If she moved, it would be to break." She said, "I know." Lancelot then explains how Arthur got wounded. Over and over, she was thinking. How many ways were there for a story to circle back upon itself? She waited, knowing what he would say, what she would say in response. He said, "Shall I go away?" "Yes," she said. With her eyes closed, Guinevere tells Lancelot how Rakoth did things to her, and that she bore his child. "I wanted to have the child. There are reasons words will not reach." The unimaginable depth of those few words, "there are reasons words will not reach." A lesser writer might phrase this like, "there are reasons that cannot be explained." It is the almost perceptible image of words, vainly grasping to latch on to meaning, which makes this such a poignant line. Guinevere explains something to Lancelot. "I think I understand," said Lancelot. Only that, which was so much. She sends him on a quest. She faltered. He had only just now come and was here before her, and she faltered at the words that would send him away. Lancelot tells her that he accepts this quest. She swallowed and fought back her tears. What was a voice? A doorway with nuances of light, intimations of shade, a doorway to a soul. She warns him that the road ahead of him will be dark. When he finally turns to leave, panic rises within her. A blind surge. "Lancelot," she said. She had not spoken his name before that. He stopped and turned. 2 separate actions, slowed by a weight of pain. He looked at her. Slowly, sharing the weight, with very great care, she held out one hand to him. And as slowly, his eyes on hers and naming her name over and over in their depths, he walked back and took her hand and brought it to his lips. Then, in her turn, not speaking, not daring to speak or able, she took the hand in which he held her own and laid the back of it against her cheek, so that one tear fell upon it. Then she kissed that tear away and watched him go, past all the silent people who parted to make way for him, as he walked from her into Pendarren Wood. This prose is a meticulously fashioned structure built on top of a base of age-old lore, love, pain, sadness, emotion, and human experience. Every word resonates deep within me and touches upon my own emotions and meaning. This composition is like Antonio Salieri describes the music of Mozart in the movie Amadeus.
Displace one note, and there would be diminishment. Displace one phrase, and the structure would fall.
I hope that I've been able to show you how exceptional this small piece of prose is, or at least how special it is for me. It only adds to my admiration of Guy Gavriel Kay. The Darkest Road was first published in 1986, and I already experienced the sheer artistry of his next novel, Tigana. My next two reads by this writer will be A Song for Arbonne and The Lions of Al-Rassan. And after that, there are 9 more GGK novels waiting for me to be enjoyed. Life can be good, very good. Thank you very much for watching this video. Until we meet again at Dutch Greybeard.